Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is going to be part 4 and the final part of what has happened to me and why am I in hospital. You're gonna have to excuse me because I've got a really sore throat today, but I feel weirdly, even though I've got a sore throat, like I feel okay. So I thought I need to film this now. I might look at this back and think you physically cannot post that, you make no sense, no one can hear you. But I just thought, let's just do it, let's get it over and done with. So first of all, just before I start this video, I honestly need to thank some of you. I need to thank you all. The support that you have given me over these past few weeks and months has honestly, I genuinely don't know how to describe it. It's just meant so much, and the comments that you've left me have literally had me in tears. Honestly, it's meant just everything, and I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for just being so kind and supportive and just truly caring about me, you know. I just don't know how to describe it. I actually just wanted to share with you as well. I've actually received some really lovely gifts in my PO box from Jeannie, Alan and Sophie. I know a couple of you have actually contacted my mum to arrange it, but the PO address was in my description of my YouTube because I think I'd got it a few months ago, but I'd never actually told you about it. I think it was just before I got sick. But yeah, I've just got the most lovely gifts off them, and it's just I've just opened this card now from Sophie, and even just the front of that just made me absolutely cry my eyes out. And I'll post a picture of what I got. So Alan got me some lovely books, and Jeannie got me kind of this support care package, and Sophie has actually sent me some of her PICC line covers that she thought would be useful for me. And honestly, it's going to make a massive difference, not having to have that horrible bandage at the hospital give you, and some face masks and stuff. And just honestly, I don't want to cry this early in the video because I've already had my cry, but honestly, just thank you so much. You don't actually understand how much it honestly means to me. I could literally do a full video just saying thank you and thank you and thank you again. So yeah, thank you. And like I said, it really has just meant the absolute world. So to get this video started, I need you all to, as per my usual advice, if you can, have a nice hot beverage ready, because this video is where I'm going to tell you what my formal official diagnosis is. And when I say everything I have told you so far is now irrelevant, because what I have wrong with me is something I have not mentioned this whole time, but everything that I have said is now going to make sense of the symptoms and everything like that. So I have actually just got hot water, literally, I don't know if I can show you without tipping it up. I've just asked one of the lovely girls, little Lily, to make me this, and it's just for my throat. I don't know why it's so bad. I've done a COVID test and it's absolutely fine, but being in hospital, you pick things up. It's really the time of the year. Obviously, I've been out a couple of times during the day recently. Now I'm on my TPM for just 12 hours, and maybe I've just picked up a bit of a cold, but I'm gonna have a sip of this just before we get started, to maybe gather my throat together and get my notes ready, because if I miss something, it's gonna all not make sense. So let me have a bit of a cough while I do the introduction and have a sip of this hot water.
Never up, never down, never. Like a theme in a song, clever. Feeling high, feeling low at the same but I get up, I always do.
Okay, so as I have already done part 1, 2 and 3, I will link them down below if you've not already seen them. However, where I got up to on part 3 was basically telling you that I had just had my G-tube inserted, which was to help cope with my symptoms. The doctors are basically saying that my SIBO had triggered my gastroparesis to make it worse, which is why I was vomiting so much more. The symptoms had kind of died down from my SIBO, like all that pain that I was getting. And at this, when they did my G-tube, they had also taken some aspirates from my bowel to test for the SIBO. Now at this point they thought I was still losing weight, but because they felt like nutrition, you know, getting better night's sleep, not being stressed, it might help being at home. So I got discharged, obviously under strict instructions that if I was to lose weight like drastically again, I needed to be readmitted, and also I was having bloods taken twice a week just to kind of like test for all that. So I've got such an itchy nose. So I was home for, I think in total it was about 3 weeks, and the first few days I was not well, but I was okay. I was like how I was in hospital, you know, my symptoms are being managed, blah blah blah.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one.
Then, halfway midday on one of the days, I got squelching in my bowel, pain in my bowel, and loads more bile vomit came up again, which is the exact same symptoms I had back in May, June, July and August, all to do with my SIBO. And I looked at my mum, and honestly I was about to burst out crying, and I just said, "Mum, it's back. What am I going to do? It can't be back, like it cannot be back." And she just said, "Beth, like let's just calm down, like it might not be anything, like let's just leave it for a day and go from there." Now, weirdly enough, the next day when I woke up, I think like by the time the postman had been, I had a letter from the doctors here. And he basically said like, "Dear Miss Gallery, during your procedure of like your G-tube, when we took some aspirates out of your bowel, it came back that you had fungi and candida in your bowel, in your small bowel, which is thrush. We need to prescribe you some medication, which is an antifungal medication, you know, start taking that." So I was like so relieved, because I was like, right, at least this explains the symptoms. I've got thrush and fungi in my bowel, it'll make sense, I just need to take the meds. So they prescribed me a course of I might say this wrong, it's called like fluconazole. It's an antifungal medication basically to put down my tube, and it was a 3-week course. So I knew that it can, with your bowel, it can take quite a while to recover. It's not like a chest infection that you'll be okay in a few days, you know, I do know it takes time. So at this point I was getting really, really, really bad again. I'd got to the point of literally being completely and utterly sofa bound. Like I had a sick bowl like on my knee, could barely even walk to the bathroom. I was in so much pain, but I just kept telling myself like it will be fine, I just need to wait for these meds to kick in. Obviously they was giving me potassium KCl in my tube, which is a supplement. It sounds on 60 milligrams a day, so I thought my potassium would be okay. My mum and James and all my family throughout this time kept saying to me, "I think you need to go back to hospital," but I just feel like I had so much trauma from the first time round, and you know, I had the meds, I knew what was wrong with me, I didn't need to go back in. I'll just insert a video of a few of the videos I captured of what my bowel was doing, and it was literally like sucking itself in and like doing these waves motions, and every time it did that I had the most excruciating pain that I'd literally like, say if James was next to me, I couldn't even speak to him, it was so bad. And after about 2.5 weeks after this point, I was still on the medication. Or it might have just been like just under 3 weeks. I think I actually went into my mum and James and I just burst out crying. I just said, I think it's time, like, we go. I think my potassium's down. I was sort of like losing like my mind a little bit. When my potassium has been really, really low, I can't function very well, and I know what I want to say, but it almost seems as though my brain won't allow me to say it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just, I could tell my hands kept doing this motion where they was cramping up like that, and my thumb was getting locked there. So at this point I knew my potassium was down. So just check I'm on the right part. Scrapments, antifungal. Yeah, so I went to A&E, really long wait. I got admitted onto A&E after quite a few hours wait. They took my bloods, and when they came back it was low, so they kind of like pushed me through the queue to get me on a drip. Luckily I got a bed in A&E, which I was there for about 3 days, I want to say.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different.
After this point came on, I'd just got to the point of my 3-week medication dose, and weirdly, after I stopped taking them, all of my symptoms went. And when I've actually read the side effects of the medication, it says like bowel pain, feeling sick, nausea, vomiting. So I don't know if the fungi had been treated and the candida had been treated, but the medication was making it worse. But up until that point, as soon as weirdly I stopped taking the medication, all my symptoms went, thank goodness, and they have never been back since. So I think that candida and fungi had been treated and my symptoms have gone. Touch wood, they don't come back. At this point, after about 3 days, I got readmitted onto the gastro ward at the hospital. And the doctor that first saw me basically said that he is more than convinced that I have another like form of bacteria in my bowel, and he wanted to do some like cultures, so like cultures on my bowel, urine, and there was something else as well than blood. He was more convinced that I had like another form of bacteria. He explained that because my gut system is so slow that it's prone to getting bacteria, so we just need to find what it is and treat it. So at this point I was happy. Potassium's going up because I was on a drip. Then over the weekend I saw another doctor, and he said that my cultures was fine. However, I dropped more weight since I last got readmitted, and they needed to figure out what on earth was going on, because obviously I was having all of his potassium still. I was still being sick so much, and I was having 2,500 calories a day and still losing weight. So they needed to really figure out what was going on. At this point, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, like over the space of the next like 10 days, like not much really changed in hospital. Like I didn't really have any more tests, didn't have anything like that. I was just sort of like being monitored.
Oh, here you are, face to face in this trashy bar. Another glass and I am going places. Makes me laugh about the irony of everything. I like the way you're thinking. I don't really care about the music on the dance floor. I don't really mind all the smoke is in the bathroom. I don't care at all, baby, you got my attention. So you were saying, oh no, I don't see the logic of things. It's quite a lonely world that we're living in. Oh baby, you are something special.
I met a new doctor who I'd never met before, and me and my mum had actually like sat down, just explained our frustrations, you know, like I'm so unwell. I don't understand what's wrong with me. Please, you know, tell us what's going to happen. And he just took 5 minutes out of the room and came back in. Let me just have a sip of this, 1 second. Oh, sorry. So, this is where you guys need to get your listening ears on, because this is when it turns interesting. So he came back in the room and said to me, I've just took 5 minutes and just sort of like had a look at your whole like history, you know, your previous scans, what's happened. And he said, I can see you had something called a jejunum done in January. Now, just to explain what a jejunum is, it's basically in my J tube that goes to my jejunum area. They put some contrast dye in and sort of like watch your bowel, like how quickly it goes through your jejunum. It's done under x-ray, so they watch the contrast dye like go through and sort of like how long it stays in your jejunum for, how your bowels function and things like that. Now he said to me, in order for a bowel to absorb, the area that absorbs in your bowel is called your jejunum, which is why your tube goes to there. Now in order for something to absorb, like nutrition to absorb in your jejunum area, it needs to stay in there for about 40 minutes and anything to 100-ish minutes, and that's okay. So if it's too fast, it's not going to absorb properly, and if it's too slow, it can cause like blockages. So it should be 40 minutes. Now yours came back at 30 minutes, so it was 10 minutes too quick. So he was quite convinced at this point that, you know, maybe that's why I'm losing weight and I'm sort of not holding my potassium. So he said, I want you to have another scan done of that, let's repeat that. And then let's also, I'm going to speak to the radiologist and see sort of like what other scans we can do. Maybe we can put some dye down your tube, like a coloured dye, you know, then see if it comes up in your vomit or when you drain, so we know if your feed's coming up, things like that. So the following day, he came in and sat down with me, explained things to me well, so I understood. And he just basically said, I need to tell you something. I've had a chat with the radiographer to basically try and have a meeting with them, but unfortunately it was quite short notice. But we had a chat on the phone and we looked at your scan and looked at your notes, we were discussing other scans, and on the scan itself you can see when the contrast dye entered and when it left. So obviously on my notes it said it was 30 minutes. Now bear in mind, like I said, the doctor told me it needed to be 40 minutes minimum for something to absorb. He said, unfortunately there has been a typo on your scan that was done in January. It wasn't 30 minutes, it was 13. So whatever I have been putting in my jejunum area since January has been leaving that area in my bowel that absorbs nutrition within 13 minutes. My medication, my fluids, my feed, potassium, everything I've been putting down that tube physically has no time to absorb. Which explains my weight loss, my potassium issues, and things like that. So it wasn't my gastroparesis getting worse or being affected. It was my small bowel having a very rapid transit time, which is what it's called. So at that point, he obviously said, let's try some medications that I know might work. One of them was ondansetron, which is an anti-sickness that some people may know it as, but it also has evidence to sort of slow your bowel down. Unfortunately, that didn't work. Within this time frame of waiting for the medication to work, my weight was just awful. The lowest I got down to was 6 stone 9. Bear in mind, when you normally see me, prior to Benidorm I was 9.5 stone. For me, being 5'9", 9.5 stone is still slim. you know, it's a nice healthy weight. I could also be 10.5 stone and I'd be a nice healthy weight. But I was 6 stone 9. I feel like I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry. I got a pressure sore on my spine because I was so underweight. I couldn't sleep because I was so uncomfortable. I was bruising absolutely everywhere. They had to change my mattress. I don't know if you can see the top of it. It's like a purple one, to something called a dolphin mattress, which is for people who are either under or overweight, and it's more soft. I couldn't even make it to the top of the ward because I was so weak. Honestly, at this point, I was really, really, really worried. And I actually admitted to my mum the other day that I was honestly worried I was not going to make December at the sort of rate I was going at. My weight had sort of stopped drastically dropping. It was still going. Like if you looked at it over like a 2-week period, it was going. But it had stopped drastically dropping, and one of the nurses had explained to me that it's because you've no more fat to lose and your body will be eating its muscles. I was in pain in my legs, my arms were hurting. I just looked horrendous. Like I looked ill, and I've always had a rounder face. Like even now, believe it or not, I really actually hope that you can see a massive difference in me from the beginning of these parts to now. I've put on a stone since being on TPN, and I feel like you can tell in my face massively, but like I'm still underweight in my body. 7 stone 9, which for me is still really underweight, so I have still a lot to put on, but I just look so much better and I feel so much brighter. But my face then was so sunken. It was just literally like not me.
How come the stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away and show us where we are? What makes the sun go to sleep every night, and what's it dreaming of? I wonder. How come the sky sometimes hides behind the clouds? Maybe it's just like me, a little bit scared of heights. Why does the rain always keep on pouring down when it's...
And these videos that I'm sort of like inserting as we're speaking now are videos that I started taking because I actually couldn't see myself in the hospital mirrors, and I wanted to know how bad it was. The mirrors are really quite shallow, like short, and you can't see yourself in it, especially my back. So I had to record myself to see. So at this point, the endoscopy weren't working. I actually had a pre-made appointment that my mum made for me with my doctor in Salford, who's like my gastroparesis specialist. And it was like a pre-made appointment, you know, it was like a normal one. Oh no, it was one she actually made. She requested it on like the second admission. She got a hold of his secretary and was like, you need, you know, please come see her. You come see him. So I saw my doctor in Manchester. Sorry, I've just left something out. Just before I went to go see my doctor in Manchester, I had another angiogram done, because obviously the one I had last time was in January, and my new transit time is now 9 minutes. It's no longer 13, it's 9. So it has got worse since January, it's got faster. I've literally just woken up, but me and Mum have the appointment today with a specialist in Manchester. My camera hasn't opened properly. I have approximately 5 minutes before she gets here, and I look like this, so I really need to get moving and get moving. But yeah, I'm not too sure how I'm gonna like include this in the update or anything like that, but I'm sure I'll find a way. I saw him and he sort of set a plan for me on what needs to happen. So first of all, he told me my diagnosis officially, which is intestinal failure. And you guys are so smart, because some of you has commented on my last video and said, it sounds like you've got intestinal failure. Have you got intestinal failure? You are so clever. I had never even heard of it until this point. Like, I didn't know what it was. Sorry. I still feel like this is, it's all very new to me. I knew my stomach conditions was bad, but I was always stable, you know, with my weight and everything, with my bowel feeds. I just never ever thought my bowel would fail me. So he explained that I have very, very slow gut motility in my stomach, very rapid fast in my small bowel, and slow again in my colon. And unfortunately, there are at present no specific treatments or medications that can fix it. You know, he often sees patients with fast transit all the way through and slow transit all the way through, not slow, fast, slow. So if he was to treat it, he treats the whole gut system, he doesn't target one of them. He has seen other patients like me, not many, but he has seen them. Moving forward, I need to have a plan of what's going to happen. I need to be on long-term TPN. At this moment in time, feeding to my bowel is no longer an option. Although the risks of TPN, he explained, are quite high long-term, the risks of you not being on TPN are a lot higher. So, the plan that he set was long-term TPN needs to be arranged immediately. I'm in complete and utter malnutrition. I need to be on TPN. I need to have some biopsies taken of my small bowel to check the lining of it. And I also need to refer to the Intestinal Failure unit at Salford, who will support me and help me and things like that. If anything comes out, they'll be able to help me, they'll be able to run more tests. I'm not ruling out at this point that that is it. You know, I've always said in my gastroparesis, even though there's no cure, you just never know in the future. So although right now this is my only option, I'm not ruling out that I can never come off it, you know? You have to take that outlook. He also wants to have a tubogram sorted, which basically put some dye in your tube and see how much of your jejunum is after my feeding tube to see how much can absorb. Afterwards, see if there's enough of it to absorb. But they think that they can use my jejunum for them results. I just need to basically, you know, I basically needed to be monitored. So obviously I came back to the hospital, told the doctors what the plan was, and he was also going to contact them to confirm that. So I've been under that plan ever since. The dietitian and nutrition team have really, really been looking after me, you know, so well. They have helped me get on the correct TPN over this amount of time, correct amount of potassium in it to stabilise me. Like I said, I've put on weight, I'm feeling like me again. And although at this point in time my intestinal failure can't be fixed, I can be stable on TPN. And TPN has scared me for a long time. I never thought I would need it ever. And the risks scare me, the potential sepsis scares me. But how I'm feeling right now on TPN, like, I'm not scared anymore. I know that this is literally keeping me alive, so I can only be grateful for the opportunity and second chance it's given me. So I'm just going to get trained and look after it really well and have support with the nutrition, the dietitians, the intestinal failure unit, you know, I'm gonna have a couple of doctors here looking after me, and yeah, everything just makes sense now. He also confirmed, unfortunately, I would never have had SIBO. So SIBO was never confirmed, as I said in part 1. He said that because I have such rapid transit in my small bowel, it is impossible for bacteria to overgrow in there. Impossible. I personally think that this Candida and fungi that they actually did confirm from my G-tube procedure when they took aspirates from my bowel, I probably had that whole time, because the symptoms I had when I had SIBO and the symptoms I had when I had the fungi and Candida were the exact same. And I honestly think that the antibiotics may have put it like at bay, but it needed to be treated with the antifungal, which is why it got better and then came back. So although I told you I had SIBO and my gastroparesis was worse, I have intestinal failure, and it's just been a journey to get to this point. So right now the plan is, like I said, to be referred to intestinal failure unit, and the care team needs to be put in place for here for me to be discharged. I've already put on weight since being on TPN, like I said, and things are going better for me. So I will be soon getting discharged and be looked after as an outpatient, hopefully soon. I hope it's good temp. So yeah, like I said, the care team just needs to be put in place to look after me, to connect me at home. The referral's getting put in place. I also need to get a Hickman line put in, because this is a long-term option for me. They don't want me to have a PICC line, they want me to have a Hickman line put in my chest. I'm also going to record other vlogs like about my TPN and when I get my Hickman line and stuff like that, just to like separate them. But that is the conclusion of everything. Like I said, the first 3 parts will be concluded by part 4, because it explains everything. It explains why I was losing weight, why I couldn't stabilise my potassium, why nothing was working. And it's because I had intestinal failure. And like I said, unfortunately, it was on a scan in January that was, unfortunately, had a typo. As you can imagine, this has been a very, 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 very overwhelming few weeks. For, you know, multiple reasons. I think, like, firstly, I'm just still processing how hard this year's been. The fact that I literally didn't think I was going to make December. The fact that I am now still here, but have another diagnosis that can't really be sorted. And the whole TPN thing by itself is just a lot. It's just been a really, really, really tough year, and it's just sort of hard to process, I think, and sort of understand everything. And I just never thought my body would fail me more than it had done already, if that makes sense. But I am so relieved that I have an answer and everything now makes sense. The Candida and fungi has been treated and the symptoms have gone. If it comes back, I know what it more than likely is, to get the correct treatment for it, the antifungal. And, you know, the fact of how good I am feeling on this TPN, I know that it's going to be okay. I know that I can live a life, stable, healthy weight, not malnourished, and just be back to me. I can be back to work, I can be at home with my family and James, I can cuddle my dogs, and I know what's wrong with me. So I'm trying to look at it in that sense and take the positives out of it. I think that's the only way I can physically process all of this and move on and get closure. And, you know, this time around I'm going to be getting discharged with a plan, with support from like the team, and with nutrition and with a diagnosis. So I feel like this time I'm not going to end up back in. If I do, it might be for a planned procedure or anything like that. But I still have a lot of work to do. I still have weight to put on and gain my strength and muscle back because I'm still quite weak, and I feel like I have a lot of adjusting to do, a lot of like taking in to do. But yeah, that is the full story, and I'm sorry it's taken this long to explain it all, but like I said in the other parts, I needed to show you everything because that has been what's happened, and to show you the journey and now how everything makes sense to what's happened. You know, all of my symptoms and everything like that have all now made sense. And, you know, I'm on the right path now and things like that. So, yeah. I'm probably going to close off this vlog because I feel a bit emotional after sort of like saying it all out loud. Plus, I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear me because of my voice. And it's also probably really, really long. And I'm sure you're sick of watching these parts by now. So I hope everything now makes sense and you are fully up to date with everything. And like I said, I'm going to do a few other vlogs I'm going to upload. I recorded a few things when I got my YouTube done, which I recorded some more to add to it to explain what it is and stuff. I've recorded sort of like a TPN journey so far vlog. And I'll also do a Hickman Lime one when I get that. So, yeah, I'm going to close off this vlog now. I just hope everything makes sense. And again, I just want to thank you so much for everything and all the support. And, you know, I mean, even just like, just everything. I really do mean like how much I appreciate you. And I look forward to being back at home, chatting with you. You can see the dogs and have a catch up about everything in life, because I've missed like this whole past year. Plus I can show you what's going on with the house because I've missed it all too. So apparently now it's at roof level. Last time I left it was trenches. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything can move forward quite quickly now. And I can be at home really soon. So fingers crossed we can be in like sort of live up-to-date vlogs before you know it. So thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and hope to catch up with you again really soon. Bye.
Never up, never down, never. Like a theme in a song, clever. Feeling